There's a type of person who hears, "party this weekend," and immediately starts planning an excuse. Not because they're depressed, not because they have some social anxiety issue they need to work through. They just genuinely rather be alone. And for the longest time, society treated this like it was wrong. Here's what I noticed, though. Some people leave a crowded room feeling completely energized. They're buzzing. They want to keep talking. Other people leave the same room feeling strangely drained. Not because they dislike the people. Not because anything went wrong. Because their mind has already processed more than enough. That's not social anxiety. That's just how they're built. There's a massive difference between being lonely and just being alone. One is a wound, the other is actually just preference. One is you missing connection, the other is you finally getting what you need. For decades, everyone basically assumed that if you enjoyed solitude, something was wrong with you. Antisocial, damaged, like you were one bad day away from becoming a villain origin story. But look around, and you'll notice something. Some of the clearest-headed people you know are the ones who spend time alone. They're not depressed. They're not avoiding life. They've just figured out something different about how they recharge. Think about your own experience. Some people spend an entire evening alone and feel completely restored. They're calm. They feel like themselves again. Other people spend an entire evening scrolling through their phone, surrounded by noise, and still feel lonely, still feel empty. They're looking for something and can't find it. The difference isn't whether you like being around people. The difference is what you actually need to feel like yourself. When you're someone who genuinely needs solitude, what's actually happening is this. Other people's energy costs you something. Not in a bad way. It's just stimulation. Constant stimulation. Conversations, eye contact, the need to be on, the awareness of other people's moods and needs. That's a lot of processing. So when you're alone, your mind finally gets to do what it wants. It gets to think. Actually think. Not react. Not perform. Not manage. Just think. You know how some people can sit in a noisy coffee shop and feel inspired? How they write their best stuff with music and people around them? That's real. But then there's the other side. Some people need silence. They need space. They need to sit with just themselves and let their mind wander. And in that silence, something happens. Ideas arrive. Clarity arrives. You start processing things you didn't even know you were carrying. It's not about being smarter. It's just about different. Now. Before you start thinking, this is totally me, let's be honest about something important. There's a real difference between choosing solitude and hiding in it. Think about when you close the door and finally get to be alone. Are you running towards something or running away from something? Some people love solitude because they've learned they're actually good company. They know what they think about things. They enjoy their own thoughts. They feel restored in silence. But some people avoid people because connection feels dangerous, because being alone feels safer than risking rejection, because vulnerability feels like too much. And those are different things. One is peace. The other is protection. The real question isn't, do I like being alone? The question is, why do I like being alone? If your answer is recharge, create, think, clarity, restore, you're probably in a good place. But if your answer is safer, easier, less painful, less disappointing, that might be something worth sitting with, honestly. Not because you're broken, but because there's a difference between solitude and hiding, and one of them builds your life. The other pauses it. Here's what I notice about people who actually thrive in solitude. They understand something that takes most of us years to figure out. being alone isn't the same as being incomplete. We talk about relationships like we're broken pieces. You're my other half. You complete me. We've built this whole narrative that you need someone else to make you whole. But people who enjoy solitude, they've looked at that narrative and said, actually, I'm already whole. And it's not arrogance. It's just knowing yourself, not needing someone else to make you feel complete. A relationship becomes something you choose, not something you need to survive. Here's what's interesting. People who embrace solitude actually have better relationships, real relationships, with friends, with family, with community, because they're not trying to get everything from one person. They're not desperate. They're choosing. They understand that the quality of your alone time directly impacts the quality of your time with others. When you're recharged from solitude, when you're clear-headed and centered, you show up differently in relationships. You're not depleted. You're not resentful. You're not looking for someone else to fix the emptiness. You bring your actual self to the table because you've spent time with yourself first. In Japan, there's a word for this. Haitari. Alone time. And it's not just accepted. It's celebrated. They have restaurants with solo seating, movie theaters with single seats, solo karaoke booths, entire cultural practices built around the idea that sometimes you just need to exist with yourself. Meanwhile, in the West, we're still asking people, why are you eating alone, like they're confessing something at a support group. So if you're someone who genuinely loves being alone, you don't need permission for that. You're not weird. You're not broken. You're just built differently. The world needs people who can sit with themselves, who can think deeply without constant noise, who know the difference between real connection and just filling the void. The only thing that matters is this. Are you choosing solitude or defending against people? Because choosing solitude is peace. Defending against people is just hiding. If it's peace, if it's clarity, if it's restoration, then you've figured out something most people take forever to learn. That being alone doesn't mean being incomplete, that you're already enough. And that's actually something worth knowing about yourself.